The big thing is if he's convicted, he can still be the president. That's not going to be a problem. The Constitution only says to be president, you have to be 35 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen and have lived in the country for at least 14 years. Trump has all of those.
He checks those boxes.
Therefore, yeah, he's good to go. There's no requirement about being not a convicted felon.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by White House reporter Haisten Willis. Haisten, President Biden is going to be nominated virtually, potentially sucking some of the air out of the Democratic National Convention. Why are they doing this?
So I don't think there's going to be a lot of drama on the floor anyway at the convention, but certainly this makes it like even lower how much drama you're going to see inside the hall, I think, at the Democratic National Convention. Obviously, we haven't had actual nominees nominated at the convention for a long time. That hasn't happened in 50 years. It's all done through the primary process. But now, even the formal nomination is going to happen in early August, weeks ahead of the convention. So it's already going to be a big formality. So, like you said, there's any potential for drama, any sort of contested convention, people saying that we don't want Biden, is going to be gone. Now, that said, of course, there could be plenty of drama, I guess more probably outside. There's a lot of talk about protests, Gaza protests, repeat of the 1968 convention, but I guess that would happen more outside. But anyway, as far as the formality of what the convention is supposed to be for, nominating the president of this party, their nominee, that's going to be happening ahead of time, so no drama.
And so, since they've moved away from contested conventions, these have really become more television events anyway, and it's sort of an extended TV commercial for Biden over a week.
It's like a rally, right? It's been a formality for a long time. The last contested convention, I believe, was 1976. You had Gerald Ford beating out Ronald Reagan, but that's kind of a trivia question at this point. I mean, it's been a very long time. This has been a formality, but again, they're taking away even the formality of having him nominated. I think that was on the last night, right? That they do that. So that's all out the window. So yeah, it's going to be even more of a commercial than usual. One thing also, if you are going to be watching this, people might want to know, is that they're going to be bringing back some of the things they did in 2020. They had a completely virtual convention. They're going to be, I think, doing some semi-virtual things, so having more videos and things like that. So yeah, like you're saying, even more of a TV commercial than we're used to at this point.
So Biden's had a lot of clashes with the Supreme Court, particularly the conservative justices, and he had an interesting comment about a couple of justices recently. What did he say?
Yeah, this is a Philadelphia event aimed at black voters, and he's playing up the stakes of the election. What's important? Well, one thing is the Supreme Court, right? Whoever wins the presidential election can nominate Supreme Court justices. But he made a very specific prediction. He says he's going to nominate 2 people over the next 4 years, which raises a lot of questions. Who are these 2 people going to be? If you look into this a little bit more in depth, Biden, of course, is 81 years old. The oldest Supreme Court justice is Clarence Thomas, who is 75 right now. So it's like, well, if they're not going to make it for the next 4 years, Clarence Thomas or whoever it may be, you're going to be even older than they are, of course, continuing. So that's kind of an interesting thing. The oldest 2 are Clarence Thomas and Alito. They're 75 and 74. But both of them are considered conservatives, appointed by a Republican president. So there's an open question of whether or not they're going to really want to retire if Biden did win. He didn't say anyone's going to pass away in these comments. He said they're going to retire. Even so, there's a question of would they really want to do that if Biden won. The oldest liberal justice is Sonia Sotomayor. She's only 69, so she's 12 years younger than Biden. Nonetheless, progressives are already trying to get her to retire as well before the end of his current term to get an even younger person on the board. Anyway, he's saying there's going to be 2 in the next 4 years. We'll see what happens.
Right, and Biden was in the Senate when Thomas and Alito were both confirmed, and obviously he was vice president when Sotomayor was put on the court.
That's right.
We're filming this at an uncertain time with the verdict in former President Trump's hush money trial. But you've done a story looking at, and this will be true regardless of what the outcome is, but you've done a story looking at what would happen if he was convicted, and what would that do for his ability to run for president, to govern, those sorts of things. And what did you find?
Yeah, and this will be true regardless of the outcome of the trial. So I'll go ahead confidently say the big thing is if he's convicted, he can still be the president. That's not going to be a problem. The Constitution only says to be president, you have to be 35 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen and have lived in the country for at least 14 years. Trump has all of those.
He checks those boxes.
Therefore, yeah, he's good to go. There's no requirement about being not a convicted felon. Maybe a good reason that's not in there, because if you did that, you may create an incentive for someone to try to get someone convicted of a felony.
Right.
Either way, it's a moot point. He'd be able to serve anyway. There are other relevant questions that are not quite so clear. One is whether or not, if he was convicted, this is a state level conviction, if he was in prison, would they have to release him from prison? One person I talked to said yes. The other person said it actually was not really clear whether or not New York would have to release him from prison for the duration of his presidency. One said he actually would have to be released, but then when he left office, he would have to go back to jail to complete the sentence. Either way, he can be president. So there's actually a possibility he could be president while still being in the prison cell. But he'd be president if he won the election, no matter what.
Well, Americans say they're looking for a conviction politician. Thank you, Haisten.
Sure thing.
You can read Haisten and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.